This is a special bonus episode of the History of Plants, and it exists because of you. Hitting 10,000 subscribers was a huge milestone for this channel. I started out with, I think, a little over 1,500 in the beginning of the year, and I wanted to celebrate that moment with something weird, wild, wonderfully botanical. So let's talk about one of the all-time most amazing evolutions in botany, carnivorous plants. Because these leafy predators didn't just evolve once, they've evolved multiple times, each solving the same problem in a completely different way. What's that problem? What if you couldn't move but still needed to hunt? And maybe that's what makes them so fascinating, because they don't chase, they don't strike, but somehow they have turned the laws of biology inside out, not to survive better, but to trap better. I'm Megan Brame, and in this episode of the History of Plants, we're diving into the stories of three very different carnivorous plants and the evolutionary loopholes that made them so lethal. So let's dive into the fun facts about three of our favorite predatory plants and the radically different paths they took to become the botanical bad boys we know and love. We gotta include the star of the show, right? The Venus flytrap. The Venus flytrap doesn't just trap insects, it decides to trap them. Each lobe has three delicate trigger hairs, and if you've watched my full deep dive of the history of the Venus flytrap, you already know that. But stick with me, because we're going to talk about something else with this. For those who aren't aware, when an insect brushes one of the hairs, nothing happens, because that could just be a raindrop or a false positive. But touching two hairs within 20 seconds, or the same hair twice, and the trap snaps shut in under a second. It's what we like to call a double tap rule. It's a way to conserve energy and avoid false alarms. The trigger generates an electrical signal in the plant that travels through the leaf cells, triggering a pressure shift that closes the trap. It's like a plant with a tripwire and a plan. Once the trap closes, it checks whether it caught something worth digesting. If the prey keeps moving, the plant tightens and releases digestive enzymes. The flytrap only does this 3 to 5 times per trap before the leaf dies, so it's very aware it has to be efficient. It has no allies, no mutualism, just precision, patience, and a well-timed snap. But of course, we had to tinker with it. In recent decades, breeders have developed dozens of flytrap cultivars. There's the B52, which has huge traps. There's the werewolf, which has serrated teeth. And there's the red dragon that is deep maroon and looks almost fake. It spans the imagination. Whatever you can think of, we're working on it with Venus flytraps. Some are even bred to stay open while still digesting prey. We didn't just admire their engineering, we tried to out-engineer it, which, yeah, that sounds right. The Venus flytrap didn't chase, it waited. And somehow, that made it one of the most iconic predators in the plant kingdom. If the Venus flytrap is a solo act, Nepenthes is the social climber of carnivorous plants. It doesn't snap, it doesn't move, it collaborates. Each pitcher on the plant is a passive trap. Bugs land on the slick rim, lose grip, and then fall into a pool of enzymes. But some species go further. Take Nepenthes bicalcarota. It houses a species of ant in its stem. The ants defend it, clean up leftovers, and help process prey. Then there's Nepenthes lowlii, which doesn't catch bugs, it catches droppings. It evolved a waxy perch that acts like a toilet for a tree roosting shrew. The shrew gets the bathroom, the plant gets fertilizer. That's not just carnivory, that's contract carnivory. Other Nepenthes species host frogs, collect leaf litter, and build roofed pitchers to prevent rain dilution. Each one is its own architectural solution to a very deadly problem. Nepenthes doesn't hunt, it builds, it delegates, and it's very good at both. If Venus flytrap is flashy and Nepenthes is strategic, Genlissia is the one you never see coming. Above ground, it looks like nothing special, just a rosette of tiny leaves, but underground is running a microscopic meat grinder. You see, Genlissia evolved a subterranean corkscrew trap that draws in protozoa and nematodes from the soil. Once they enter, backward-facing hairs prevent escape, funneling prey towards a digestive chamber. No speed, no teeth, just a one-way tunnel and perfect patience. Some Gilisia species don't even have traditional roots anymore. They feed almost entirely through their traps. And here's the part that might surprise you. Gilisia has one of the smallest genomes of any flowering plant. Super quick science lesson. Your genome is your instruction manual. It's your full DNA blueprint. And Gilisia has stripped out most of the non-coding sequences. It didn't just evolve a better trap, it actually streamlined the way it builds itself. There's no wasted energy, there's no junk code. You'll never see it catch its prey, and that's exactly how it wants it. So there you have it, 3 predators, 3 evolutionary blueprints, 1 built a mechanical snap, 1 outsourced its digestive empire, 1 laid its traps in the dirt and rewrote its own code, and none of them had to move to become dangerous. This bonus episode exists because we hit 10,000 subscribers, and that is entirely thanks to you. Whether you've been here since the Dumbcane episode, or this is your first visit, thank you for helping Plantrums grow into something weird, nerdy, and honestly way more exciting than I ever expected. And if uncovering strange and brilliant stories like these is your thing, this is the place. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you want commentary cut of this episode where I talk through the research rabbit holes, wild facts that didn't make the cut, and how I picked these plants, you can find that over on Patreon. I'm Megan Brame. Thank you for joining me on another episode of The History of Plants. Next time will be another deep dive into one specific plant. Until then, greenies, thank you. Stay curious, and don't forget to flourish.